You know, like what happened was funny when you said something about speaking to the missionaries of charity. I thought, well, that makes sense. Like, you're a cool guy, and you're not just cool, but you seem put together and you're well-spoken. Yeah, meanwhile, I say shit on my podcast. No one's going to invite me to do anything like that. And I was embarrassed about that. Abandon that to Jesus.
Yeah.
I give it all to him. And what a beautiful thing for people to speak ill of me or to think worse of me. Yeah. They don't know the half of it.
Totally.
Glory. You know, so that abandonment to Jesus has been a huge thing. And then if I don't know how to abandon it to Jesus, then abandon that to Jesus. Just submitting to him. Realizing that self-hatred doesn't work. Like, it's not actually conducive to holiness.
Same more. How did you get to that? Is that through Dr. Bob?
Yeah, that was my, and Sister Miriam, who I call Mother Miriam, by the way. I asked her, I said, can I call you Mother Miriam because you've become my mother in the Lord? She said yes. I went, good, because I was going to do it anyway. Yeah, just learning to abandon everything and just believing that people aren't stupid when they see something beautiful in me.
Yeah.
Same thing with you, right? Like when someone loves you and they're like, man, you're beautiful. Like, I don't know, why is our first inclination to think, well, they're wrong? Well, maybe they're right. What the hell do you know?
No. You know, I've been pondering that too. I noticed, like, in kids, like my sisters are having babies, and like from age like less than 1, when they're holding their baby, you go look at the baby and like you're talking to it. Sometimes you'll notice like the kid will just start to like point at stuff once they learn pointing. And I'm like, oh yeah, what do you got? And like I look and then he'll point at something else. And I'm like, okay, what's that? And then a third time, like, okay, he's actually just trying to get my attention off of him. Because the gaze is hard to receive. And I was like, interesting. I remember as a kid, like my mom one time walked into I was playing with my Legos. And I remember noticing she walked into the room and was standing at the doorway. And I turned and looked at her and I looked back and kept playing. And then I looked at her and I was like, what? And she goes, oh, nothing. Like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm just watching you. And I remember inside, I'm a little kid. I'm like, stop looking at me. Like, why are you looking at me? It's making me uncomfortable. And as a kid, I was like, I have a hard time receiving the loving gaze of my mother. And I see that in these babies, this like tension around the gaze of another and how hard it is to stay in the gaze. I think that's rooted in the fall, right? Like we were in the gaze of God. We saw God face to face. We walked together in the garden. Sin, we looked away and sort of looked back at God or anyone who represents the face of God, which is the unceasing love of one who doesn't judge us, but wants to bring us back. That's hard to receive, man. Like that's hard to receive. So I think when we have people speak truth to us, we're like, yeah, I wanted to hear that. I really want that. But I also deep down know that if you could see who I really am, you'd be out of here. And so I have to cloak or cover up some of those deeper spots because it's just dark in there. I have a hard time believing in the deepest place of my lovability and the fact that even the Father isn't going to reject me. Jesus says it, I will reject no one who comes to me. But deep down, I'm like, yeah, but I'm also a dirty mess.
What you just said is Song of Songs, chapter 2. And I think the Lord has really used this in my life too to bring my heart closer to him. I'll just read through it. Maybe we can comment on it.
Oh, yeah.
So first there's this awareness of the beloved. But I don't see him and I don't hear him, but there's something. The voice of my beloved. This is Song of Songs, chapter 2, verse 8. Behold, he comes, leaping over the mountains, bounding over the hills. I just think of the freedom of the Lord, the freedom of knowing that all is well, the freedom of God being supreme. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. And now this bit, right? Behold, there he stands. All right, so now I've known of the Lord and now here he is. But notice what it does. It says 3 things. Behind our wall, gazing through the windows, looking through the lattice. So if you think of a wall, windows, and lattice, there's a removal. So a wall is something solid. I cannot see through it. Maybe I can hear, but not very well. The window is something that I can see through, but still can't hear you very well. The lattice, it's even closer.
Yeah.
There's like a break, there's holes, so I can see you and hear you better. And then what does he say? Oh, my beloved speaks and says to me, arise, my lovely one, my beautiful one, and come away. And I just want to give him the finger at this point. Well, that's how I've been in the past in my prayer. I'm like Peter, like, get away from me, Lord. You have no idea what you're saying. Or I don't trust you. Nothing's ever been this good in my life, and it's not going to be this good now, and I'm not going to get my hopes up. But he says beautiful things to me, right?
Yeah.
The winter is past. The thawing of my heart has begun. The rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth. The time of singing is come. The voice of the turtle dove is heard in our land. Now, there's this one line here, and then I'll let you comment on it. I love this line. Oh, my dove, in the clefts of the rock, in the crannies of the cliff, let me see your face. So what I imagine is as the Lord comes to us and we hear his voice and experience his lights and inspirations, we do what this bird does. We bury our head in the clefts of the rock because those words of affirmation are too beautiful. They're too painful. Because I know me. I know the sewage of my own heart, my own wretchedness. How could you possibly say things like this? But he continues, let me see your face. Let me hear your voice. Your voice is sweet and your face is lovely. And I'll close on this. Catch the foxes for us, the little foxes that spoil the vineyard, for our vineyard is in blossom. Obviously, there's much that we could think here, but I think of the lies of the enemy. In Revelation 12:10, he's called the accuser of our brethren, right? Those false things that we believe about God and others and ourselves, right? God is not for me, he's against me. The other cannot be trusted. I am beyond redemption, right? I think of these as the foxes that are spoiling the work that the Lord wishes to do in the vineyard, and he wants to join me in this great quest of catching the little bastards. My beloved is mine and I am his.
Yeah, you hit it. Like the Song of Songs, I'm convinced this is the most important book in the Bible because it stands as like this linchpin understanding of how God is toward the bride, toward his people. It summarizes all of Jewish history and it points us to the king, which is what's coming in the whole new covenant. And you hit that one line, let me see your face. Like the bridegroom is asking the bride to turn back to him, which is what God was doing to Israel all through the old covenant. Like, come, return to me with your whole heart. Look at me, not your false lovers, the world out there, like, come back to me. But what I want to point out actually as a consolation to us who struggle with that gaze is how the song begins. And this was a commentator pointed this out. This is not my own insight. But in the first chapter, when she speaks out this desire for the kiss of his mouth, which DeSale says is the pouring of one soul into another. It's not a material kiss, a desire to share souls or to share being existence. When the bridegroom says, looks at her and is beginning to love her, she kind of protests. She says, I'm dark but lovely, or I'm sunburned, it says. The sun has scorched me. Do not gaze at me because I'm swarthy. So she has a hard time, this archetypal bride, receiving the attention and the gaze of another because she believes she's not worthy to be beheld. So this commentator pointed out to me, like, look, put the Palestinian context around this. In Palestine at the time and surrounding regions, wealthy people did not have to work outside. They had slaves who would go out and do the work, and they would stay under the awning or in the house. So fair skin was a sign of riches, dark skin a sign of poverty. You're sunburned, you're tan. So she's saying, I'm a laborer, I'm a worker. I was out in the vineyard, I'm tan, I'm dark, I'm swarthy, I'm not pretty, I'm not wealthy, I'm not elegant, I'm not noble. So she's protesting all the reasons why this king shouldn't be interested in her, and she has good reasons to say, like, this and this and this. I'm ugly, I'm filthy, I'm poor, I'm lowly, I'm broken. And what does he do with it? Completely disregards it and presses right through. And all of chapter 2 is this like incessant like outpouring of the bridegroom. You're like, he just disregarded her critiques and her protests. He didn't reject them. He didn't correct her. He's just like, I'm choosing you for myself.
Yeah.
And that's the whole covenant. That's a whole new covenant. I'm just choosing you for myself. Yeah, you're sunburned, you're poor, you're lowly, you're not royalty. You don't deserve to be in this bond with me that is forever, but I love you and you are mine. And Christ is consummating that whole reality by just coming to Israel, coming to the sinful woman, coming to the wandering, the lost sheep. All these places are the song playing out. And Christ, down to today, the Lord is trying to express himself to us in these terms. My main work with sisters is to get them to pray with the Song of Songs, because a lot of them don't believe in their own beauty. Much bigger project is to move out from that and get the whole church to be able to pray with the Song of Songs, because we don't believe that we are beautiful to God. We have every protest and we feel unworthy, and so we don't turn our face back to him, and we stay out in the wilderness wandering around or behind our walls believing that we just deserve to be alone.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought about the video.